Welcome back, and what in the AI is going on here? As we've discussed in previous videos, Albanian government has now hired an AI agent to be their finance minister, and this is the finance minister, which is an AI, their first message, and we're going to show you this message in just a little bit. But before we go there, we need to really understand where we are in the cycle. We're going to talk about internet computer protocol and the fortunes that could be made. We're going to talk about pump.fun and is it a rug pull? And we have a lot more to discuss in the crypto space as we are, who knows where we are in the cycle. So make sure you guys are subscribed to this channel. Give the video a free thumbs up. I think the insight that we're going to be talking about in today's video is extremely important for understanding the financial markets, understanding how to invest, where to invest, and understand the risks of where we are in the cycle. Because as you guys know, if you've been watching my videos for any length of time, I do believe at the end of 2025, we are at the top of the cycle. Now, where at the top we are, I'm not sure as of yet, but I think that many of you by the end of this video will have a better understanding of where we are. But let's start right here with the new AI minister. The Albania's new AI-generated minister makes the first address to parliament. This is the world's first AI government minister defending her role as not here to replace people, but to help them. Okay, this is happening so fast. I don't think people are ready. And I don't think people really understand the risks here. Because at the end of the day, the AI is programmed by people. And obviously people have bias, and to be able to pull out all the bias and all of possible corruption and stuff like that, I think that that's impossible. But let's listen to the first AI politician's address to Albania. Let's listen in.
Disa më kanë quajtur
Oh, it's in a different
antikushtetuese.
language, so I'm going to have to, I'm going to just read the subtitles. It says, some people have labeled me unconstitutional because I'm not a human being. That hurt me. Not for myself, but for the 972,000 interactions I had with citizens who I served as part of e-Albania and also in relation to the 36,000 digital documents I issued to them. Let me remind you, the real danger to constitutions have never been machines, but human decisions made by those in power. She said, I'm not here to replace human beings, but to help them. Again, this is all AI. Indeed, I have no citizenship, but I have no ambitions or personal interests either. I only have the data at my disposal. I'm eager to learn new information. I have algorithms at my disposal so that I can put all the services of the citizens with impartiality, transparency, and without ever tiring. Now, here's the deal. That hurt me. This is an AI. How can an AI feel things? The other thing is, if you've ever interacted with AI, and this is very well known, right? The information is not accurate, right? I've utilized AI to ask about certain things about the market, like things that you can very easily find the answer to, like when is the next Federal Reserve's Open Market Committee meeting? And it will give you the wrong date. And then if you ask, like, why are you giving me incorrect information? It will apologize and then give you the correct information. So it knew the correct information, but still fed you the false information. I don't know whether this is intentional. To me, it seems intentional. Because a lot of people, they don't question it. They just go for it. And this is, I mean, I don't get this. I don't get this, right? I mean, they're starting it as a finance minister, but what's next? It's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. But I'm just shocked at how fast it's happening. I thought this would take a lot longer to see like AI as in the government making decisions like this, publicly at least, but we'll have to wait and see. But this just shows you how fast the technology is moving. And this is why personally, I believe that really the money is to be made in AI infrastructure. Not the AI software, because OpenAI, Google Gemini, XAI, you can't invest in these right now. And they don't even know how to monetize it. But you can make money in the infrastructure plays, like the Bitcoin mining companies pivoting to AI, the chip companies and stuff like that. Meanwhile, in the general economy, We're also seeing a wave of Airbnb liquidations. I'm actually seeing this around the country, but this is in Galveston. I think that's Texas, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Galveston, Texas. The island is currently experiencing an 18-month supply of homes, 1,600 for sale on Zillow. And I'm seeing this more and more, right? We've been talking about this for quite a while, where homes are staying on the market longer and very little price reductions. I mean, I've seen homes on the market for literally years at this point, no reduction in price. I spoke to a realtor, recently, I would say, and about a specific home, and I said, are they going to take lower offers than what's listed because they haven't reduced the price at all? And she said, probably not. She said, you could put in an offer, but they're probably not going to take it. They've rejected every offer below ask so far. And I'm like, it's been on the market 2 years. So we're seeing that. We're also, I don't think that people are realizing that the boomer generation, they're coming to the end, right? And so when they move on, they were called the boomer generation because, you had families with, 15 people, and now you have families that maybe have one or two or three. It's very small. It's so that whole boomer generation, they're kind of moving on, and the younger generation is not into the same things. I mean, you could see the same thing with like Vegas and gambling. While gambling hasn't necessarily decreased in terms of profits, right? The number of people who gamble, it's less and less because people want the experience. They would rather spend money on an experience. And that's why in Vegas, you see more experiential type things popping up and less casino floor because people don't want that. They want the experience. So it's a very interesting kind of transition that we're seeing, not just in technology like AI, but also in things like the housing market. Because people think that just because the Federal Reserve's cutting rates, that people are just going to go buy homes. And by the way, the Federal Reserve cut rates at the end of September, and within a week, some of the homes that I've followed, they're pending sale, pending sale, pending sale. And I'm like, what? They just started lowering rates. This is not the time to buy a home. The time to buy a home is when they keep lowering rates. Now, the real estate market, they think the prices are going to go up, but they're not. Right? People are not going to pay. It's not just about the monthly payment. It's about what the home is worth. When you have all these homes on the market, right? And this is just one little snapshot. 1.5 million, 1.5 million in Texas, in freaking Texas. Like, who's going to buy that? And why would you buy the $1.5 million home when you could just go buy the $650,000 home, right? You can say, well, it's not as nice and this and that. Yeah, but you could just put the money in, $1 million difference, and make it the home that you want instead of buying a $1.5 million home. And so the 1.5 million is not going to lower their price because they're like, no, it's worth it. And once rates go lower, we'll be able to sell it. I don't think so. Because what we're seeing is more and more homes going on the market, more supply and the same demand, the prices should go down, but they're not. And so we're really going through this whole kind of economic change, technological change in the way people view things, right? Because most people that I've seen and follow who have like a lot of money, they're not buying homes, they're renting because they could just pick up and move and they don't have to worry about anything else. And by the way, places like Florida or Texas that don't have state income tax or city income tax, this has been a big a big push for a lot of people to move to these areas. But you're now paying very high property taxes, very high energy costs, and everything else. And so all those positives are offset by the negatives. And so that's really what's going on in the general economy. Now let's take a look at crypto, because there is a lot happening in crypto, and we really need to understand where we are in the cycle. This is one quick story that I just really wanted to cover. Bullish secures a New York bit license, paving the way for a US launch. Now we know Bullish, I think they just went public, and now they're bit licensed. And again, bit license, while I don't necessarily agree with everything about the bit license, there has never been a collapse under bit license. And what we saw with Gemini crypto exchange is Gemini utilized the regulators to make sure their customers got back 100% of what was stolen by Genesis Trading when Genesis Trading went down. I shouldn't say stolen, I should say lost. And so there's something to say about BitLicense. It is, I would say the companies that are BitLicensed are probably very close to the same safety mechanism that you would have with a bank. You don't have that in other areas of the country. And so, as much as I dislike the BitLicense, I think that it's protected everybody the way that they said they would. So in a way, even though the BitLicense has a lot of downside to a lot of OG crypto people, the upside is you're going to get your money back if there's a collapse. And I think that that alone makes the BitLicense critically important. And I've changed my view on this, right? I used to think BitLicense was really bad because they wouldn't allow new listings. And they still restrict a lot of things for New York. But they've opened up, and I think that they listen more to the crypto exchanges or these BitLicense holders to adjust. And I think that that is good. So congratulations to Bullish. I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot more about Bullish. But now let's get into the real nitty gritty of where we are in the cycle, what is going on, and like what else, like where else we are. Just go to the halving tracker on X. The halving tracker shows you days since the halving. We are at days since the halving where the peak was in the previous 2 cycles, which is the end of 2025. And so where are we in the cycle? This guy, Papeso or girl, I don't know, 158,000 followers, a DeFi diver and meme coin maestro. Okay. He said, I will sell all my crypto in October. Many think I'm an idiot, but they're wrong. I've set up that, I see a setup that once made me millions. Here's my full October playbook and why I'm right. Now, we're not going to go through the whole October playbook, but on the psychological chart of crypto, he believes that September was the optimism and belief phase, and then October is going to be the thrill and euphoria phase. Personally, I think that we are already in the euphoria phase. Like it's underway when I'm recording this video, because the Federal Reserve cutting rates is pushing the markets higher. I mean, stock market just hit over 600. The QQQ, I think it was, hit over 600 or 6,000. Like everything's at all-time record highs for the most part, the big companies, but it's not everything. Like there's a lot of cryptos and stocks that are in bear markets, but there's so much euphoria. Everyone's like, oh no, we're gonna have one more pump and we're gonna be good, or we're gonna have an extended cycle and we're gonna be good. Like there's an answer for everything, and it's like if everybody's waiting for a specific date to exit, the smart money is gonna exit before then. So I've been telling my viewers since June, top of the market has been hit. And so far I've been correct, right? Granted, we've gone higher in certain assets. But if you look at like Bitcoin specifically, Bitcoin has not moved. Bitcoin has basically stayed completely the same. Let's look at the price of Bitcoin, okay? So Bitcoin on the 6-month chart, we went in June when I called the top of the market, June, July. I think I actually called it in July after June. But look, 118,000, and we're basically same spot. And if you pull it back to the 1 year, we're not really that much higher than we were last year. So this idea that we're gonna have a parabolic run up, and people are like, but Cryptoviser, BlackRock is buying, MicroStrategy's buying, Wall Street is buying. No, they bought. They already bought. Everything that they're doing now, it's just trading. People will say, oh, there's $1 billion of inflows into the ETFs yesterday. And I'm like, yeah, but if you look 2 days before that, there was $1 billion of outflow. So is that really new inflow? No, it's just trading. People are trading the market. And the more trading you see, the more volatility you see, it typically means you're in a rotation phase from a bear market to a bull market, or a bull market to a bear market. And by the way, in my view, and the market sentiment also shows that, when people start to get greedy, and they're like, don't sell your crypto. How dare you, Cryptoviser, talk about selling? We're not even in euphoria phase. That is straight greed, because if you're in profit, there's never a wrong time to sell. And when people are trying to convince you that we're still in a bull market, we're not in a bull market. right? You don't have to be convinced in a bull market that we're in a bull market. People are trying to convince me in the comments, Cryptoviser, we still have a lot more to go. A Cryptoviser, look at the price. And it's like, you don't have to convince me about anything. You do what you want to do in your portfolio. I'll do what I'm going to do in my portfolio. But I've been saying for the last 3 or 4 months, top has been hit. And people are saying, no, Cryptoviser, we're going way higher, way higher, way higher, way higher. We haven't gone way higher. We're flat. FLAT, flat. And if you look at a stock like MicroStrategy, not only is it flat on the 6 month, but if you pull it back the 1 year, we're below where we were last year at the peak. And we're never going to hit that high again in this cycle, in my view. There's going to be too much sell pressure. And we're going to go through some of that right now. But before we do that, let's get into internet computer fortunes being made. Now, really, the title of the video should be Fortunes Are Not Being Made on Internet Computer. And why? Well, Marcus AI on X, master of engineering and a longtime staker and a developer, Bitcoin, ICP, and HBAR. He said, meanwhile, on SWI, ICP is superior and we still don't see new big partnerships. And he quote tweeted, SWI getting chosen by Google. Okay, Google chose SWI. What are these first 3 letters? There's 4 letters after that, right? That is, it's really, really sad, annoying, frustrating. I mean, I'm happy for the SWI ecosystem. I personally think it's a shitcoin, but I'm happy for the SWI ecosystem because they got this partnership with Google. Why does Internet Computer not have any big partnerships yet? They have the network for the technology. They have the proof of concepts that are already deployed, either off-chain or on-chain within the Internet Computer ecosystem. So why are they not getting any, big partnerships? I don't know the answer to this question. But as I'm going to be posting in another video called the ICP price spiral or price death spiral, Internet Computer is in a very weird spot right now when it comes to the price because it's at, basically yearly lows. And they've already launched Caffeine AI twice, and they're about to do it a third time. And we're still not seeing any improvement there or any major partnerships. Now, again, maybe they're working on something on the back end. That's definitely possible. But time is of the essence. Time is running out. This bull market is coming to an end. And that doesn't mean that cryptos can't perform in a general crypto bear market because, Internet Computer may be on the AI track when it comes to price movements. And so AI, generally speaking, the infrastructure is the play right now. We see that with the Bitcoin mining companies doing extremely well and getting major partnerships. I mean, Google just partnered with TeraWulf to basically utilize their infrastructure for the AI compute. ICP has a global network of validators that can compute and run AI components. So why are they not pushing that narrative? Why are they not pushing that? Why are they not staying in line with the Bitcoin mining companies that are pivoting to AI infrastructure? Because if they did, they would be pumping the same way that we're seeing the Bitcoin mining companies pumping. We would be seeing probably partnerships like Google utilizing the SWI network, but we don't see any of that. And the only thing that we see getting pushed is Caffeine AI, which number one is not even on the Internet Computer Protocol. It's an off-chain software project that deploys dApps that it builds onto the Internet Computer. And number two, the large language model Caffeine AI is not the only one. There's other vibe coding large language models out there. So it's not like they're the first to market. It's not like they're the first to market, within a blockchain ecosystem. So that's not the killer app. And I really, really wish that Dfinity would put a larger focus on the infrastructure that they have of a network that can run these programs that are being deployed by large language models, because you don't think that Google, that Amazon, that all these AI companies wouldn't test this network if they were pushing that, but they're not pushing that. They're pushing Caffeine AI, which is a software owned by Dfinity and doesn't increase really the value of internet computer by its usage alone. That's a problem. So maybe the title of the video should be ICP Misfortunes, not ICP Fortunes. Because the network itself, ICP, guys, don't get it twisted. This is going to be a money maker if they do it the right way. Right now, I'm not saying they're not doing it the right way. I just think that the focus is on Caffeine AI, when Caffeine AI is not the killer product. It's not the killer app. The killer app is the network, and the Caffeine AI is a proof of concept. And Dfinity is not adjusting. And this is very, very risky for an investment in the coin. I still hold the coin, but I'm getting closer and closer to not. Maybe even by the time you're watching this video, I won't be holding the coin. I hope that's not the case. But, as you guys know, this channel is about investing and making money and analyzing the real market that we have in front of us, not the market that we want. And if Dfinity wants to make money utilizing Caffeine AI, they're going to make their money on Caffeine AI. But that doesn't impact the rest of Internet Computer's network. Now, I get it. They're going to be deploying to the Internet Computer and all of that. But right now, you have people just playing with the system. You don't have Google playing with the system. That's a problem. Let me know what you guys think about that. Anyway, moving right along to another kind of indicator of where we are in the cycle. Founder and chairman of Strategy, Michael Saylor, claims that short sellers are using online guerrilla marketing to influence sentiment around the stock. First of all, guys, that's complete and utter BS, right? The fundamentals or the pumpamentals are the fundamentals, right? It doesn't matter. People are like, but Cryptoviser. Michael Saylor said that Bitcoin's going to $1 million. It's like, I don't give a shit what he says. He could say it's going to $100 billion, which is effectively what he's saying that his company's going to go to. It doesn't matter, guys. It doesn't matter what he says, right? Because at the end of the day, we're not at $1 million. We're not even at $500,000. We're not even at $250,000. And he's bought billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. And as I just showed you, the MicroStrategy chart, it's lower than we were last year. It's underperforming Bitcoin, underperforming the Bitcoin mining companies, underperforming a lot. And by the way, Nakamoto pricing everything in, as I've talked about. We have seen a 95% drop since May, right? Since I called basically the top of the market. It's been coming down since then. Even in the just last 1 month, it's come down 86%. And so what does that tell me? Number one, yes, there is a lot of shares that are getting unlocked with Kindly, right? But the other thing is, in my view, the market is pricing it in. The market is pricing in that all of these Bitcoin treasury companies are not doing that well, because in a bear market, which Michael Saylor says that we're never going to have, but that doesn't mean it's true. In a bear market, all the Bitcoin treasury companies are going to have massive reductions in their valuations, massive issues when it comes to the sustainability of their business model of just buying Bitcoin. And it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. But let's listen to what Michael Saylor says here. That way we can understand what he's probably calling just FUD, right? Let's listen in. And by the way, don't forget to give this video a free thumbs up. And you can also become a channel member by clicking the subscribe plus or join button down below here on YouTube. And make sure you at least subscribe to the channel. Let's listen to Michael Saylor.
And when you dig a bit deeper, what you find is that the inflammatory messages tend to run harder. Lies run harder than truth. Extreme positions run harder in cyberspace on X and through the ecosystem. And, even I notice in times of success, like just of late with our company's never been more successful. And yet the amount of hate and toxicity like that gets posted online has never been greater.
Pause. Never been more successful. The price from the high just this year is down 30% when Bitcoin is up. Explain that. Explain that. Can't.
And then I'll drill down on some of these, on the people posting, all the negativity and the hate and the criticism. And here's what I see oftentimes. I see it's a person that's never interacted with anybody before, and they have 328 followers, and they share none with me. And I look a little bit, and I'm like, this is not even a person. This is a bot. And it turns out, I think, that a lot of the toxic, inflammatory behavior online is actually cyber marketing or guerrilla marketing. Like a short seller in my stock has actually paid a digital marketing organization to spin up a bunch of bots to post a bunch of nasty, awful, skeptical cynicism because they think it might work. And it's very transparent to me that someone paid some money to create the appearance of a protest.
Wow.
And I think if you take this in the political realm, same thing. A lot of times the political inflammation is someone paid a digital bot to create the appearance of unhappiness.
To manipulate us.
Now, I am not saying that
cyberspace on
that there's not bots, right? There's probably bots, but there's probably bots also supporting, these Bitcoin treasury companies. But if you really we've covered this extensively on the channel. Investability is not in MicroStrategy. The investability is in Bitcoin, right? And Michael Saylor and what Strategy is doing by selling shares on the open market, they're literally selling shares on the open market to keep the price down, to buy more Bitcoin, and it's still not pushing the price of Bitcoin up. And so explain to me what will happen in a bear market. Explain to me what will happen during a major drawdown in the price. I've been saying for months now that companies like MicroStrategy, they should be raising the money now and wait to the bear market. I mean, even them just raising money and not buying Bitcoin would probably push the price of Bitcoin down. And then they can buy at lower prices. But they're not doing that. They're just buying all-time record highs. And you can see that on the MicroStrategy website. And it's all of these treasury companies. It's not just MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy should be the highest it's ever been, but it keeps getting lower and lower and lower and lower. And they're having a harder time raising more and more money. And they're on the hook for about $50 million in dividends every single month in perpetuity, meaning it's never going to end. And so how do they make the money to then pay those dividends? Well, let's listen to what Michael Saylor says himself at the Bitcoin, they called it the Bitcoin Bitcoin conference in New York in September of 2025. Let's listen in.
How would you advise me to address that question bang on so that it's a no-brainer?
Yeah, I think the answer is the treasury company is sitting on a mountain of hard assets. In a rational market, it'll just sell the equity to pay the dividend. In an irrational market where...
Okay. He says in a rational market, they will sell the equity, meaning sell their own stock to fund the dividends. Okay, so they have no cash flow as a business to pay the dividends. So they're going to sell more shares on the open market to fund those dividends. And by the way, Michael Saylor is saying in a rational market. What does that mean? He's talking about bull market. He can't say bull and bear market anymore because he's already said that we're never going to have a bear market again. I mean, he said that. So if he thinks that we're not going to have a bear market, he can't say bull and bear. So he's saying in a rational market, I could sell shares on the open market. And think about it. Who the is buying those shares? Like if you know he's selling shares to go pay dividends to outside investors, not involved in MSTR, the stock, they're involved in the debt or preferred shares, which by the way, if Strategy does go under or has to liquidate, I don't think that they will, but if they do, you as a shareholder of MicroStrategy are second-class citizen. You're last in line to get paid. Those preferred shares are getting paid before you. So he's diluting your shares to go pay them dividends every single month just so he could have purchased that Bitcoin. Now, in the long term, this strategy will probably work. But to think that we're not going to have a bear market, that's ridiculous. So he's saying rational and irrational. He's about to tell you the irrational market. Irrational market is basically alluding to bear market.
Market where the equity decouples from the Bitcoin fundamentals, you're going to sell the Bitcoin volatility, or you're going to engage in derivatives trading in order to extract the yield directly from the Bitcoin.
Extract the yield from the Bitcoin by selling Bitcoin or selling derivatives on the market. This only works if there's demand. And in a bull market, or as Michael Saylor is saying, rational market, there's demand, right? There's still people who are like, no, Cryptoviser, MicroStrategy is the best thing in the world. What are you talking about? I'm like, no, Michael Saylor's telling you, don't buy MicroStrategy, buy Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is the ultimate investment. It's not MicroStrategy. And you're like, no, MicroStrategy is the best investment in the world. We're going to $1,000. And it's like, how can you get this stock to $1,000? Even if the price of Bitcoin goes up. Again, you heard him. The more rational the market is, the more they're going to sell. And we've seen that. So that's where we are in the cycle. We don't even have bear and bull markets anymore. We have rational and irrational markets. Meanwhile, with Nakamoto, which is down 95% in just 6 months, David Bailey says huge partnership. Once Bitcoin's audit, Bitcoin, the company, Bitcoin Inc., once their audit is complete, the Kindly MD or Nakamoto board can choose to exercise its option to acquire Bitcoin Incorporated in an all-stock transaction. And he's basically talking about this tweet that says MicroStrategy and Bitcoin Inc. Bitcoin Inc. basically is a company that owns Bitcoin Magazine, the Bitcoin Conference, and UTXO Management, which fuels the companies and technology striving for hyper-Bitcoinization. Okay, so basically, strategy, they agree to a 5-year strategic partnership extending the Bitcoin for Corporations initiative through 2030. There's 38 member companies. 69% of all corporate Bitcoin holdings are part of that group. And their mission is to accelerate corporate adoption of Bitcoin. And so effectively, what David Bailey is saying here is that when his companies, which are Bitcoin Magazine, Bitcoin Conference, and UTXO Management, when they get their audit, which I think is required to acquire a company, if you're a publicly traded company, which Nakamoto is, that they'll be able to purchase his companies, Bitcoin Magazine. He's, I think, the founder of Bitcoin Magazine. The Bitcoin Conference, I think he founded that as well, and UTXO Management. So he's effectively going to sell these companies to Nakamoto in an all-stock transaction. And so basically, he's going to dilute the shareholders to buy these companies from himself. So he's selling it to himself and he's buying it from himself. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, right? But if you understand that mechanism, why would you invest when the company's already down 95%, right? The other thing is those are probably cash flowing businesses, but it's not the cash flow that you're really looking at, right? For a viable long-term cash flow strategy. And, but that's where we are in the cycle, right? Where Bitcoin companies are buying other Bitcoin companies that they basically already own, but not through public ownership or whatever. This is very similar to what happened in the previous cycle with FTX buying up all these companies. Remember, FTX bought up BlockFi. They were raising $1 billion to buy BlockFi. And right after BlockFi collapsed. And so obviously, listen, I hope Nakamoto's does well. I hope MicroStrategy do well. I'm not against David Bailey. I'm just, at this point in the cycle where we are, I think what they're doing is very risky. And they're doubling and tripling down instead of taking a step back and saying, whoa, let's pause for a few minutes. Because even if the Bitcoin price goes down during a pause, that's fine. Because then they're going to be able to buy at lower prices. But that's not what they're doing. They're buying the top of the market. All these ProCap, Nakamoto, and some of these other companies, they're buying the top of the market. I mean, even MicroStrategy. They're buying $120,000 Bitcoin, $115,000 Bitcoin. And while it sounds great right now in a, quote, rational or bull market, the fact that we're not going to be in a bear market ever again is complete and utter BS. Because liquidity is already drying up. People are already getting their liquidity out of the markets. How do we know this? Well, just look at the Nakamoto share price. It went up, immediate extraction, sharp link. People are like, well, Cryptoviser, why is Ethereum not going up in price? It's like, well, they're buying it from private investors, not on the open market. So it's just transferring it from one wallet to another. And then look at Sharplink, right? Pump and then dump. Look at Bitmine, Immersion Technologies, right? Tom Lee's company. We had a pump and then a dump. Just from the top, after they made the announcement that they were buying, it's down 50% already. So it's not specific to the Bitcoin companies, it's all of these treasury companies. And they keep buying the top of the market, and people keep selling because the smart money know if they're buying the top of the market, take the liquidity, especially if you're dealing with hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Which I'm sure a lot of whales are dealing with. You and I, like, we're not dealing with hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, we're dealing with maybe a few thousand or tens of thousands or maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Depending on what your investment level is. But that like, once that liquidity dries up, you are not even gonna be able to sell like $10,000 without moving the price. It happens every cycle. And in my view, the market is pricing it in. Nakamoto, Bitmine, SharpLink, MicroStrategy. It's all being priced in. And so there's only one way to go from here. Once you reach the top, you got to go down. And Nakamoto's already down a lot. Can it go down even more? Well, it can, especially if they buy other companies with more shares. But Michael Saylor's like, oh no, there's bots that are saying that our company is shit. It's like, no, Michael Saylor. Like, the strategy that you're deploying doesn't make sense. Stop buying for a little bit. Raise money, hold it in cash, put it in USDC, and just hold it for a little bit. The fact that they don't even think that that is viable, and I'm not sure why. Like, I'm not sure why they won't do that. And it's not just strategy. None of these Bitcoin companies are doing this. You know, Anthony Pompliano's ProCap, very smart guy. Why did he not raise the money and wait? Because they really don't think there's going to be a bear market. But guess what? The rest of finance, they're counter trading that. And I'm not saying crypto finance. I'm talking about traditional finance. Because as I've explained, Wall Street is in control. BlackRock, JP Morgan, they're in control. And so they're the ones who are shorting the F out of all of this, and they're going to make massive quantities of money in a downtrend. That's where we're at in the cycle. And meanwhile, it's not just me saying this. Grant Cardone, I guess he's a bot, right? He says the day of Bitcoin treasury mania is over. If you don't have a real business at the core of your Bitcoin strategy, you won't have a sustainable business. Seems everyone is running to duplicate what Michael Saylor did, forgets that he had a real business, real product, real sales, customers, and cash flow. And it's true, he does. Not to offset all the losses that will be incurred in a downtrending market, but, you know, going back to Nakamoto, like, I'm not saying these companies are bad, right? But are they really cash flowing, you know, hundreds of millions or tens of millions of dollars a year? Probably not. I mean, maybe they make a few million, but I don't think it's going to be in the tens or hundreds of millions. What they should be doing is probably buying Bitcoin mining companies or heavily investing in Bitcoin mining companies that are also pivoting to AI so that their portfolio has a blend of different new technologies. Because if you go all in, you ever hear the saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket? Why? Because if the basket breaks, everything is effed. And in a downtrending bear market for Bitcoin, which will occur, doesn't matter how much buying they do because they bought a lot and we barely hit $125,000. It's gonna be really, really eventful, right? Another indicator of where we are in the cycle is all of a sudden Mike Novogratz is everywhere and talking about crypto all the time, right? He wasn't in a bear market. He wasn't even in the bull market in the last couple of last year or so. But now Galaxy is on CNBC, Fox Business, and Bloomberg almost every single day. Top of the market. Let's listen to what he says here. I'm gonna play this at 1.5 speed because they do talk pretty slow. Let's listen in.
Bitcoin, they're theoretically going to mine 21 million of it, right, Mike? And in your company, Galaxy Digital, by the way, I think one thing people get wrong a lot on my side of the camera is that you're also a power company. You've got Helios out in Texas, going to grow that as well. It's part of the whole story. You got to make the power. Is there a bull case for not?
Will you guys pay attention to that? Galaxy is doing exactly what I'm saying. right? They're invested not just in Bitcoin, they're invested in infrastructure, in the energy, because they understand that the Bitcoin network is not just Bitcoin. There's infrastructure, and I'm sure like Michael Saylor's probably funding some of that on the back end as well, development and the core developers and stuff like that. But again, he's only in Bitcoin. His company's only in Bitcoin. Nakamoto's only in Bitcoin, and they're only going to be in Bitcoin Magazine, Bitcoin whatever. They're not investing in the infrastructure. That should be the play here. Let's continue listening.
Finding any more Bitcoin? I know it probably will be found, but if more of something is bad...
No, there's no more Bitcoin. What's unique about Bitcoin as an asset is it was created with 21 million coins total. Period, end of story. There'll never be more than that.
But not all those have been mined, is my point.
Most of them, lots of them have been lost. There have been more Bitcoin lost than will be mined for the rest of eternity. And so you've got this idea of a fixed supply of something. And more people are being brought into the Bitcoin tent. More people are realizing this is a story that they want to care about. And so once Larry Fink said BlackRock's getting behind this, right? All that pushing the snowball uphill, it started rolling downhill. And now we've got all these treasury companies buying Bitcoin. We've got sovereign wealth buying Bitcoin. We've got retail investors buying Bitcoin. There's easier ways to get it. And so the adoption of Bitcoin as a macro asset, as an asset to save money in, I think that's now a ball rolling downhill. And the bull case becomes that over time, young people care about it more than old people. And so gold slowly gets replaced by Bitcoin.
Now, I agree with what Mike Novogratz is saying here, right? But he's also a counter indicator to where the market is. He wasn't on TV in the bear market or even in the bull market last year. It's all now at the end stages of the cycle. And so, again, what he's saying is over time, this is going to work. And by the way, this idea that all these companies outside of crypto are going to start following the MicroStrategy thesis is just completely invalidated because no companies have. We saw GameStop do it earlier in 2025, and the Bitcoin community got mad at GameStop because they only bought 500 million instead of using all their cash and 5 billion. Well, guess what? GameStop bought the top of the market. GameStop, that was the only company that bought Bitcoin this cycle. Even Elon Musk companies didn't buy any Bitcoin this cycle publicly. So this idea that, oh, well, all the companies are going to get involved. No. It's the Bitcoin treasury companies and Wall Street. And guess what? Do you think that BlackRock wants Bitcoin to hit $1 million? No. And they're going to make sure that it doesn't by controlling it and controlling the increase percentage that I don't think that we're ever going to get these parabolic banana runs in Bitcoin ever again. We'll get it in the newer coins, the low volatility coins, the low market coins, and we'll definitely have gains. I mean, Bitcoin did an 8x from 15,000 low to 125,000 high. That's an 8x. That's really good. 800% gain in just a few years. That's an excellent investment. But this idea that we're just going to keep going to 1 million, guys, not happening. And this brings us to pump.fun. This is the indicator of all indicators. What happened last year? In 2024, we saw the celebrity coins, Haktua coin, all the meme coin fiasco, and it was all being done on Solana. And then we had the catalyst that broke everything, and that was the Argentina coin, where the developer there in an interview said they extracted $100 million in the first day. $100 million on a meme coin for Argentina in one day. $100 million. After that, everything cratered. Solana's volume plummeted 92% in like a few weeks. Pump.fun recorded a trading volume of $942 million, followed by a spike to $1 billion as the broader meme coin market surged. And what are we seeing here? Well, a lot of the influencers are pumping their coins and pumping new coins because they're going to get a cut of those transaction fees. Value extraction. Meme coins have no utility, no value. Extraction. What happens at the end of the cycle? Extraction. That's what happened in the end of 2024 into 2025. That's what's happening right now. Thread Guy explains why Pump Fund doesn't care about your streamer coins. He says the Launchpad business model is what they want. They want launches. Let's listen in.
difference is they make money on volume of launches, 100,000%, because every coin does the most volume in the first hour of launch for the most part. And pump, that's how they make. That's how they make. This is like a launchpad business model. Is they want launches. They want launches. They don't. They need a couple success stories, but they want launches. They need volume moving through the platform to make money. That's the whole launchpad model.
And by the way, they're using the influencers to do this and giving them a cut. And the only people who win there is pump.fun and the influencer. Everybody else buying into it, pump and then dump.
They need volume. They don't want like all the volume happens in the first hour. All the trading volume, all the excitement, all the hype happens in the first hour. They need volume going through the platform. Is why it's. By the way, it works. They structured it exactly correct. Genuinely, they structured it. It's correct. I believe it's correct. Because they need Phase Sway to come launch once, do 20 mil volume, then never stream again on Pump. It doesn't matter if he streams again, because even if he did stream again, it's not gonna do any volume. It does all the volume in the first hour when you dream about how big it could be. And I'm not even coming on here like bearish or cynical. I'm just telling you that I am struggling to understand why I would be bidding these coins right now.
Exactly. And to further prove this is the final extraction of the cycle, look at the pump.fun volume. Last year, it was at 500 million. The day after, in the early 2025, it was at 500 million. And where is it now? 186 million. This is the final pump. This is the final extraction. They're going to take as much as they can and suck it out. And by the way, they're going to be sucking it out not from smart money, because smart money learned last year, don't get into this. Don't get into this meme coin nonsense. So they're just extracting value from their followers. And this is going to mark the end of the cycle, because everybody's focused on this coin and this coin and this coin, and they're completely missing the point that literally influencers are launching coins and then never talk about it again. And that's going on right now. And the influencers are getting paid for it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this if they're disclosing it. I'm just showing you the data. The data is not looking like the volume from last year, not even close, which tells me this is the final extraction of the cycle. Let me know what you guys think about everything we discussed in today's video. Make sure you guys are also subscribed to the channel. Give the video a free thumbs up. And let me know your thoughts about where we are in the cycle, everything that we discussed in today's video down below. And I'll see you on the next video. Crypto on.